Hey everybody, welcome back to NoDQ&A video, episode number 286, right here on youtube.com/NoDQ&AV, and as always, NoDQ.com. I'd like to thank everyone for checking out the NoDQ discussion panels over the past week. It was a busy week for me. I was in Fresno, and then Sacramento, and then back to Fresno. A very hectic weekend with Wrestlemania and all the other activities that went along with it. Thank you guys for checking out those videos, and got a lot of questions here. It's very backed up. I'm backed up here in questions. In case you didn't get the message, NoDQ&A video questions can now be submitted at ask.fm/AaronRift. I guess FormSpring is not closing. I don't know what the deal is with FormSpring right now, but I already made the change, so I'm sticking with it. Ask.fm/AaronRift is where you can submit questions. And with that being said, let's get right down to it. Alright, first one today comes from my good friend Ryan from San Pedro. Hey Aaron, what was your overall opinion of WrestleMania this year? It had its ups and downs, but I felt it was extremely lackluster. Please answer in video, fella. I talked about this in the No DQ panel video recapping WrestleMania. I thought it was very disappointing. As a standalone WWE pay-per-view, it was very good, but for WrestleMania, I just felt that it once again didn't live up to the hype. WrestleMania is all about the hype, and I'll talk about this more in another question. But there's so much hype going into WrestleMania and so many expectations, and it was just another WWE pay-per-view to me. There was one really good match, CM Punk versus Undertaker, and I'll get to that more in a minute, but beyond that, I was very let down overall by the show. I felt that they could have done more. It's WrestleMania. You should have the guys go out there and give it their all. And I felt that for the most part, it just, there wasn't that special moment that people are going to remember 10 years from now. You didn't have that at this year's WrestleMania. I mean, in some years you'd have, you know, Shawn Michaels coming down from the rafters at WrestleMania 12, or Steve Austin in the sharpshooter, or Hogan body slamming Andre. You would have that really special WrestleMania moment, and I don't feel that there was that moment this year. Hey Aaron, did you find the Rock versus Cena match boring? There wasn't much crowd reactions during the match, and I felt that it took away from the match. Your thoughts? This question came from Kevin Black. I wouldn't say it was boring, but it was a letdown. I thought that this Rock versus Cena match would be a huge improvement from the previous year, that they would take what worked from that year and use that, and they would take stuff that didn't work and not use that. The problem, to me, in my opinion, is that this match really felt like they were just going through the motions, and there was nothing really innovative about this match. I mean, they did have the one spot where John Cena was doing a repeat of last year where he was going to do the people's elbow, and then he held onto the ropes. I mean, I thought that was a cool spot, but besides that, you know, it was just Rock hits his finisher, Cena kicks out, Cena hits his finisher, Rock kicks out. It was the usual WrestleMania main event, and they really did nothing that we haven't seen already. So I didn't like it for that reason, and yeah, the crowd reactions, I mean, that was definitely a letdown. I mean, it was very telling. I mean, the crowd, when Cena came out, they booed him, and when Rock came out, they cheered him. But for a lot of the match, the crowd did not react to much. And even when there was near falls, when Cena hit the AA on Rock, the crowd didn't react to it much, and the crowd barely popped when the Rock kicked out of it. So yeah, that definitely hurt the match a lot. And you know, at the end, they tried to recreate Hogan and Rock. You know, with you know, at WrestleMania 18, you had Hogan holding up the Rock's hand, and then this year WrestleMania you had the Rock holding up Cena's hand like it was a passing of the torch. Although John Cena has already been the top star now for almost 10 years, so I don't know how you call that passing the torch. You know, on the commentary, Michael Cole was really trying to put this over as a special moment. I talked about this in the previous question. I didn't buy into it as a special moment. I think that it flopped. I mentioned this in the WrestleMania panel recap video. I felt that it didn't work. The crowd was booing, and it wasn't the special moment that I think WWE was hoping that it would be. So yeah, it was a huge letdown, and you know, I think this match, the fact that it closed the show and people weren't into it, I think it really brought down WrestleMania as a whole. Do you think that this one comes from somebody also named Aaron. Do you think that the WrestleMania 29 crowd as a whole was rather stagnant except for the Taker match? You'd think a WrestleMania crowd, especially in New York, would be more vibrant. Absolutely. You know, there's a lot of theories about why the crowd wasn't all that hot. You know, some people were talking about how cold it was. I guess 50 degrees is too cold for those New York fans, you know. That kind of surprised me. I mean, I thought that cold in New York was like 20 degrees, but, you know, people were complaining about the weather, and people were complaining about, you know, the stage setup and, you know, all the poles there holding up, you know, the big scaffold over the ring. You know, that is something that I feel is a legitimate complaint. In my opinion, WWE should perhaps consider not doing open-air stadiums in the future unless you're going to do it in somewhere like Los Angeles where you know more than likely you're not going to have to deal with weather issues. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure that made an impact, and some fans were upset about the obstructed view. But you know, it was an open-air stadium, and you should have known going in that you might have seats like that. But yeah, I mean, if I was there and I couldn't see a lot of the action, I would probably not be into it as much either. So I can't blame the fans for that. And, you know, those theories are out there, but I think that the crowd came and they wanted to see there was one match that they really wanted to see, and that was Undertaker versus CM Punk. And I think that was obvious by the cell phone going off, and also obvious by the fact that you know, the crowd was dead for a lot of the show, but when Undertaker and CM Punk came out, they were red hot. So it wasn't an issue with the crowd not being mic'd properly. And, you know, I guess maybe the crowd was just saving their energy for that match. But whatever the case, you know, it was clear to me that Undertaker and Punk was the match that people wanted to see. Hey Aaron, love the show. What was your favorite match from WrestleMania 29? Mine was Lesnar and Triple H. This is from Matt. Well, my favorite match was CM Punk and Undertaker. That was the match that had the most crowd heat, and it was the most exciting match. And, you know, it was a little bit sloppy at times. You know, Undertaker, it was pretty clear to me that, you know, he's more limited than he was in the past. But I still thought that it was a really good WrestleMania match. Not at the level of the Shawn Michaels Undertaker matches or even the Triple H Undertaker matches, but you know, it was maybe the 5th or 6th best Undertaker WrestleMania match. I would put it somewhere in there. Still a much better than average WWE match, and I loved the facial expressions. You know, Punk's facial expressions when Undertaker sat up, and Paul Heyman's reactions to the near falls, and Undertaker. I mean, they were great when it came to the facial expressions, and I think that really helped tell the story. And you know, I really liked the near fall with the urn. I thought that was a great spot. It reminded me of when Bob Orton interfered in the Randy Orton versus Undertaker match, and the crowd really bought into that as a possible finish. And you know, I love that. And you know, I don't have a problem with Undertaker winning. I expected him to win, and I was still very entertained by the match. As far as Lesnar and Triple H goes, I thought that those two went out there and really did give it their all. And I felt really bad that the crowd was so dead for that match, because I was entertained by it. I thought Lesnar looked like a beast out there, just throwing Triple H around and doing the battle cries. And I thought it was a very well-worked match, and it was just very unfortunate. The lack of crowd heat really hurt that match a lot. And, you know, I just don't know what it is about Lesnar and Triple H. I mean, definitely the placement of the match hurt, and, you know, not just that, but I mean, the first Triple H and Lesnar match, the one at SummerSlam, I was there. The crowd was dead for that match too. So I don't know if it's just the fact that when these two guys are in there, it just doesn't gel with the audience. I really don't know. All right, this one comes from David Cervantes. Hey Aaron, do you think if Brock Lesnar versus Triple H would have been put before Taker versus Punk, that it would have been the match that stole the show? Please answer in video. I mean, it's certainly a possibility. Here's the thing. I talked about this in previous videos. When you're booking WrestleMania, you should put the match on last that the crowd is going to be the most into, the match that people want to see the most. And it was pretty obvious going in what people wanted to see. You know, I did a poll on NoDQ.com a few weeks ago. Which WrestleMania match are you most excited about? And Undertaker versus CM Punk won by a landslide. So I don't know why WWE didn't put that match last. I mean, I know why they did. Why they didn't put that match last, because Rock and Cena is the match that's drawing the most casual fans into the show. So that's the match that they're going to close it with. But really, they should have put Undertaker and CM Punk last. That's the way that I think would have been most effective. And you know, you want the crowd to gradually build as the show goes on, and their interest to grow. You don't want the crowd heat and all the interest to peak in the middle of the show and then just fizzle out. And that's what happened here at WrestleMania. If Triple H and Brock Lesnar was on earlier, perhaps things would have been different. Maybe the crowd wouldn't have been as hot for Undertaker and CM Punk. Who knows? But I think in the future, you really need to think about putting the match that fans are most interested in at the end. All right, this one comes from Tyler Johnson. Hey, Aaron, why were the Rhodes Scholars and Bella Twins versus Brodus Clay and Sweet Tea, I think they're Tons of Funk now, and the Funkadactyls cut from WrestleMania 29? I really wasn't looking forward to it, but I thought it would have been used to separate the Triple H and Lesnar match from Cena versus Rock. You know, a lot of people were saying, why do people want to see this match so bad? It's not a matter of wanting to see that match so bad. Usually these types of matches are buffer matches. They're matches that are used to get the crowd, you know, give them a break. You know, you have one big match and then you have a match like this, which is, you know, a filler match. But it does serve a purpose. It gets the crowd cooled down a little bit, gives them the chance to go to the restroom or go to the concession stands and just take a little break. And then you have the next big match and the crowd is coming back and they're ready to see a big match. Yeah, it was cut because they were running short on time, you know. Maybe it was because of Diddy. Who knows? I mean, some things just ran too long, and they had to cut that match, which I do think that also played a role in hurting the Triple H versus Brock Lesnar match. I mean, I think it was a bad idea to go bam, bam, bam with the 3 big matches because, you know, after the first one, the crowd got burned out and they were tired. So certainly if that match was there, it would have helped a little bit. But then again, you know, you look back at WrestleMania 18, you had Hogan and Rock, and then you had the Divas match, and then you had Triple H versus Chris Jericho, and then the crowd still wasn't all that much into Triple H and Jericho. So it might have helped a little bit, but that still wasn't the biggest issue. All right. This one comes from Andres Morales. Hey, Aaron, although it's way too early to tell, do you believe that WrestleMania 30 will be a repeat of this year's in the sense of it being so predictable and the WWE trying to sell it based off the big names, or do you think WWE will actually create fresh new storylines and make it less predictable? The likelihood is they're not going to create fresh storylines or fresh characters. It's going to be more the same. And, you know, people ask me, is WWE going downhill now? And, you know, the fact that WrestleMania 29 got a lot of negative feedback, is this going to hurt WWE in the future? The answer is no. WWE is going to continue being successful, and it's not going to be as hot as it was during WrestleMania season. It's going to be the usual. You know, fans tuned in for WrestleMania 29, fans that weren't watching the product, and they're just going to go right back to tuning out until next year's WrestleMania season. That's the usual pattern, and my opinion is that it will be more the same. WrestleMania 30 will have a ton of hype, and they'll bring back the big names for it, and it'll do a huge buy rate, and most likely it'll be predictable and a letdown. So that's just my opinion. I hope I'm wrong. I hope for WrestleMania 30 they're able to deliver, and the hype actually leads to something, and you know, you get a great show. But I'm not going to get my hopes up when it comes to that. All right, this last one comes from Alexander Rago. Hey, Aaron, how do the ringside seats at a WWE live event work? Is it first come, first serve, or are there reserved spots for individuals? Also, are there available seats when you get there, or do you bring your own chair? Have you ever been ringside at a live WWE event? Actually, I was ringside for a SmackDown taping a couple weeks ago. Most of the seats are usually reserved for celebrities or family members or friends of the performers, so it is very difficult to get a close-up ringside seat. There are ringside seats that you can purchase online, but usually they're very expensive. And yeah, all the all the seats there, you know, they're there. You don't have to bring a chair or anything like that. And you know, sometimes like the first 10 rows you can get like the collector's chair or whatever. But it is difficult to get those kind of seats. They're either very expensive or they're already reserved for you know, family members and friends of the performers. Alright, that'll do it for this edition of No DQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. Subscribe, youtube.com/NoDQ&AV. Tell a friend on Facebook or Twitter. And I'll see you next time for more No DQ&A video.